That's horrifying. That so much of what comic retail is for comic retailers is just subscription management. It's just order fulfillment. It's not marketing or promoting books. It's just dropping things into people's subscription books and then ringing them up when they come in.
This goes out to the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
It's only 2 years from now. I'm not going to be dead.
You don't know that. I've heard you predict your own death way sooner than 2 years. Yes. There have been timelines that sounded like it was within the next few minutes.
Yeah, but I feel like you're counting on it.
I'm planning for it. It's a different thing.
Look.
It's a different thing. I'm not going to enjoy it, but Patrick, we plan for a lot of different eventualities. Some of them positive, some of them negative.
Sure. I would like to think that in 2 years my leg will be healed.
Oh, I don't know if dead people have healed injuries, but yeah, maybe, sure.
Yeah. How is nanotechnology, by the way? Is it getting there?
Tasty. Is that, no.
I mean, that's one way of ingesting it.
Yeah, sure. How you feeling, Patrick?
Oh, man. Yeah, hey, so this is Contest of Challengers, and last week, that wasn't part of it. Not by his choice. I stealth recorded it when he wasn't around, mainly because now that you're doing everything by yourself, I didn't want to add one more thing to your plate. I wanted you to have, like, an extra hour where you're not doing store stuff.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. It's funny because I probably spent more time talking about what you talked about on the podcast with other people than I would have being on the podcast.
And, of course, you never listened to it, so you know.
I told a few people.
You don't have to know what I said. You know.
Yeah, so first of all, I don't listen to episodes I'm not on. Second of all, I told people, like, I don't need to listen to that one. I've been living it.
Yeah.
There's no information he could have given on there that I would not already be privy to.
Plus, I said some really nice things about you, and you don't like them.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. So it's been a week since that last one was recorded, and it's been a week of, I don't know, Groundhog Day for me. Every day is, I don't want to get too Nine Inch Nails, but every day is exactly the same.
Oof. That's an interesting Nine Inch Nails reference.
Thanks.
I thought you were going to be something like the Johnny Cash one.
Oh, the Hurt one? No. Nope. Come with every day is exactly the same. This week I was out of the apartment 3 times for 3 separate doctor's visits.
True.
All promising. None of them great news. None of them bad news.
Yeah.
It's just, this is going to take a while.
It was a bunch of visits that were assuaging fears, maybe?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Like, I went to see the orthopedic surgeon. I do not need surgery.
Yeah.
And I told him that literally one of my irrational fears was he was going to take one look at the leg and say, oh, it's coming off.
Wow. Wow.
I said irrational.
It's true. I'll be honest, that never even occurred to me. When you had mentioned that afterwards, like, oh yeah, he said there's no surgery, they don't have to take the leg. I was thinking, like, Jesus, take the leg. Like, how do we get to that?
I don't know. You're the one who was referring to it as necrotic.
Oh, in a good way. like the Necro sword, like from Thor.
Oh,
I know how much you love Jason Aaron's Thor. I get it.
I do love Jason Aaron's Thor. I do. We did a video about it. We
Yeah,
also did a video with some
a very strong
stupid
recommendation for Jason Aaron's Thor.
Yeah.
Moved a lot of copies.
What? Okay, so Laura Dean, that's the one that worked?
I think so.
We sold a copy of Laura Dean?
We talked about for, I think, 8 words instead of just 5. Did not sell that Kamen Rider Deno. So I wonder if this is the episode that's going to get a lot of interest, because I did mention on the Kamen Rider boards today that I do a comics industry business podcast.
Oh, interesting.
With the parenthetical of when it's not you, Patrick, complaining about injuries.
Well, so
not counting those,
like one every 6 months.
I do weekly podcasts with you. So I assume a lot of people will be coming to this one. I'm expecting that strong tokusatsu content that they're getting from me on the Toku Nation boards. That was the extent of it. Was me mentioning Deno. That's it. Everything after this is going to be probably no Kamen Rider.
I do have a Kamen Rider board question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, you have come to know people on those boards.
Yeah, I mean, it's so...
that wasn't my question.
I know, but I do want to say something. Like, it's weird interacting with people on boards. It's not a thing... I don't have a social media presence, so I don't have a lot of, like, social media friends, the sort of people that you'll meet on like Twitter or Facebook, and you don't really know them in real life, but you share interests or hobbies or professions. The Toku Nation boards is kind of the first time where it's like, oh, I've actually had conversations with these people, where it feels like a friendship, but it's in a real weird, I don't know, like, I don't throw the word friend around a lot. There's a lot of people that probably would consider me a friend that I would think, really?
You do use the word often, but it's always prefaced by, you are not my.
I don't like making, so on.
Exactly.
So yeah, the Toku Nation boards is a real weird place to suddenly, at this age in my life, be like, oh, I have like internet friends.
Do you want to say what your name is?
Oh, it's Kamen Rider Die? Because it's a pun on Kamen Ride or Die.
So my one question is, have you come across anybody with the handle Uncommon Rider?
There was a dude who early when I was doing...
How'd you know it was a dude?
Everyone on the boards is a dude. It's like all dogs are boys. Everyone on the internet's a boy.
If you like Kamen Rider, you're a boy. Okay, got it.
No, there's definitely a few women I've talked to on the Kamen Rider board. So it's an equal fandom. I take people at their words, you know? If they identify as a woman.
Are there lady Kamen Riders?
Not many, no. In the newest series, Kamen Rider 01, there's Kamen Rider Valkyrie. And she's like
the Kamen Rider that escorts the dead Kamen Riders to the afterlife?
Like maybe the third in the franchise. Like, there's been women
Way to be inclusive, Tokusatsu.
Oh my god, it's a total...
sausage fest?
It's a blind spot for the franchise. Like, I think I could ascribe a lot of reasons why they don't have women in prominent action hero roles in Kamen Rider, but it's not a good thing about it. And it's something I think they're getting better at, because a lot of the ones before Valkyrie were background characters who would maybe be a masked hero for like an episode, or people who show up in a movie. Like the first ever female Kamen Rider was in the Ryuki movie. It was Kamen Rider Femme, which she might as well have been called Kamen Rider Girl.
Kamen Rider Lady.
Yeah, and the character is really strong. Like, they did a good job with it. The actor was great. She had a real specific perspective. But in general, like, her, and then like 7 years later, Kamen Rider Kiva La shows up in the Decade movie. And then years later, you get Nadeshiko, who shows up in the Forze movie. And then Poppy, who shows up in the X-Aid stuff.
Not the singer.
No, Kamen Rider Poppy. So anyway, yeah, it's not a great franchise as far as like strong... It's like they'll do strong stories about women, and they'll do action stories about women, and they're rarely the same ones. Anyway, so yeah, it's weird being on the boards, but there was someone who early on when I was doing, I think I was doing Ghost reviews or something. I can't remember if it was Ghost or Build. I think it was Build. They had said they started an account, and their account name was Another Die.
Okay.
Which is a thing in other in the Zeo series, they would have characters that were another whatever, and that was like the kind of dark evil version of them. But they'd approach me and they said like, hey, I hope this is cool that I name myself this, and I want to do reviews of something because I liked how you've reviewed your stuff. Is it cool if I do this? And I said, yeah, sure, that's super flattering, thank you so much. And then they did like a week of it and disappeared.
They died.
I guess.
They died, and again, another die. Well, there is a specific amount of interest that any of your Kamen Rider posts get from a few people who follow us regularly. I know that you and Ben-Hur threw a little bit of Kamen Rider back and forth.
We did, yeah.
And Ben-Hur can also talk AEW now, so there you go.
That's awesome.
We're influencing people. We're influencers.
Not for comics, just for the other stuff.
Other stuff. Yay. One of the main topics that I had for this episode is going to get pushed back.
Oh, okay.
Because it's something that we don't... Well, A, we don't know about, and B, we haven't talked about. But it was going to be, what are our plans for reopening next week?
Yeah, uh-huh.
And now the city of Chicago is not reopening next week.
Yeah, we did get a letter from Mayor Lori in the city of Chicago that basically said, like, sometime in early June... phase 2?
3.
Phase 3 can start. We're in 2. phase 3 where non-essential businesses can start to reopen, but it's based on different metrics that they have to be confident in first. And they are not putting a firm date on that. They'll let us know.
They've always said 2 weeks after the peak, but we haven't peaked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was going to be hey, like one of my questions was, and you don't have to answer now, it's something to think about for later, maybe a tease or a sneak preview. Do you think we will reopen to normal hours?
It's a discussion we need to have. Some of it, honestly, is how's your leg going to feel, buddy?
Yeah.
Because, currently I'm doing 6 days a week. I'm doing Monday through Saturday, somewhere between 4 and 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Going to 7 days a week.
You wouldn't. You'd have Thursdays off.
I guess. I mean, we'll see. Going to 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and then, going to between 6 and 8 hours a day. I don't know. I'd like to get back to 7 days a week faster than I would expanding our hours, but we'll sort of see what happens.
Yeah, I mean,
what we feel comfortable doing.
Again, a gradual ramp up, and honestly, the ortho estimated another month for me, so that's at least 2 more weeks of Chicago being shut down, possibly 3.
Sure,
that gets us closer.
Yeah,
I will say, like a day like today, where I took my time getting up. I took a shower, which I have not been doing every day. And after the shower, I was wiped out.
Sure.
I was exhausted.
Sure.
But it's my body is going through some changes.
It's true.
And I'm shifting over here. I think that it's a benefit, and I'm going back talking about me again, that A, I have a lot of stuffed animals, comic-related things. B, I've been gifted a lot of stuffed things.
Okay.
I'm using all of them to help prop my leg up. Right now, it is on a stuffed Danbo that I got from Ashley Challenger years ago. He is a robot, but he's also a leg cushion.
Yeah. Danbo is a very useful item.
I use a cupcake pillow that Samantha Challenger got me. I use a oversized stuffed Captain America VHS box pillow that Kent got me. So there's plenty of things. And of course there's plenty of things that I'm using that I got, like this giant elephant that is a nice pillow.
Yeah.
As I shift my leg. Oh man. It's hard to find a good position that's a good position for more than 5 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to write down that we talked about reopening, but we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You and I have had brief chats about things we're going to post up in the store and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't think that the people that will come into Challengers will put up a fight about having to wear masks. We've talked before about how we're going to require masks for the foreseeable future for everybody who comes in. Yeah. If you don't have one, we can sell you one for $1 or $2. That's fine. I don't think we're going to have the people who are militant about not wearing them.
I would expect not in Chicago.
I mean, yeah, I don't, especially our clientele. Move over, Cap. There we go. It's when the foot goes down that all the blood rushes to it. So not having you on the episode last week took away from some of the topics that you wanted to talk about, but those have only, I guess, amplified in the past week.
Yeah.
So, Dal, let me ask you this very generic, general, basic question. What do you think of DC Comics?
Not loving a lot of their choices right now. They've affected me pretty negatively as far as how we deal with subscriptions and receiving new books, because they canceled all their orders.
So they could distribute through other distributors.
Yep. And then when we reordered everything, it adversely affected our subscription fulfillment, because the way our subscription service basically works, the platform we use, is that it's kind of looking for orders more than it's looking for books. So when the order changes on a book, things get real weird.
For example, if I was signed up for Batman, and the system would want to look for Batman.
It's more that, let's say you ordered Green Lantern Season 2, number 3.
Okay. I didn't, by the way.
When you order that, it's tied to a specific order we submitted to Diamond. So that might be initial order 202003 whatever.
1-2.
Yeah. DC basically canceled the orders on that order submission, and then we reordered them under a completely different order code. So now when someone's like, oh, can you add me for Green Lantern Season 2, Number 3? We've ordered copies, and the system knows we've ordered copies, but when you go to add it, it's like, oh, I looked on the order where that should be, and it's not there.
You don't have any coming in.
So I can't add it to this customer, which means I've got to keep a separate note that says, this one says stupid fucking DC number 2, because last week was stupid fucking DC number 1.
That's true. I've seen the notes. These are actual notes that Dal is keeping.
Yeah, and then under that is like, oh, these people need these books, because I can't just add them to the system, because the system doesn't think we have any within the subscription management section.
So do you then have to take anybody who was down for Green Lantern Season 2 and then post those as special orders, or did the system do that for you?
The system did that already, but anyone who's added it since then, I can't do that. So people who have like requested it on the weekly orders, when they're like, oh, can you pull that for me? Yes, but it won't show up in your email because I can't add it to the system. I physically have to wait until the book comes in and then add it to your account. I can't do it beforehand. I can't do it as a pre-order. And it's the same thing for people who might have moved their subscriptions from River North to Bucktown. Now I can't, like, that stuff I can't put in the system. So I've got somebody who's like 6 books I got to write down this week because it's like none of those I can put in the system because the system doesn't think we're getting them.
And to make matters worse, when you go to ring that person up, it doesn't populate into the system.
Yeah.
Which is okay because we're not open for business and people aren't coming in.
Right.
But
it is pretty dumb. And on top of that, basically, like, Diamond had to write a program so that when DC did this, Comic Suite could understand what subscribers would need these copies again. So while we might have ordered 30 copies of Green Lantern, 20 of which were for subscribers, and DC zeroed it out, Diamond wrote a program, an update for Comic Suite that would say, hey, your order for Green Lantern is 0. You ordered 30. You need 20 for subscribers. So it's like, oh, okay, we'll just match those numbers back over.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. The problem is Diamond, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was on purpose or by accident, was only really doing it for subscriptions. Special orders weren't really copying over. So basically everybody who was down for a DC graphic novel as a special order this past week was not down for it anymore, or it wasn't reporting correctly when we were pulling subscriptions. So I had to go through every book and go, okay, we do have 3 people down for Gotham High. It's just not reporting that they need copies pulled. So let me zero those out. Because it would still be on their account as a pre-order that needs to be filled. It just wasn't reporting when the book came in that there was a pre-order that needed to be filled, and then put it on their accounts. So that was frustrating, but at least it was a small week, so I had time to do it. This coming week, it's a larger week, probably going to be a little bit more frustrating, and then the week after that even more frustrating, but hopefully there's a point in the next 2 or 3 weeks where it evens back out, where DC is not canceling everything anymore, and we're able to just keep our numbers rolling. Like, Marvel, no problem. They're just releasing books late. So all of our Marvel numbers are exactly what they were when we finalized those numbers.
Sure, but a quick sidebar. Marvel released their new catalog stuff today, I guess.
Yeah.
And in it is a whole bunch of stuff we've already ordered.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's not... Resolicitation doesn't matter. They'll still copy over the subscription numbers and everything.
Not clear if that's true or not.
Okay.
Like,
I don't
looking
think
at some
it's
of
a
the
problem for resolic... But, oh, well, that's true.
I was looking at the image stuff. Like, Firepower, for example, has a brand new June 2020 code.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know how those numbers are going to copy over, and I can't tell you because I could not pull down the newest order from Diamond today. It was not in their system.
Oh.
The text catalog was, so I could look at it.
Sure.
But I couldn't actually put it in our system to copy anything over, and I don't know. My plan was to send out an email to subscribers on Monday, letting them know all of the stuff in the new catalog and start soliciting pre-orders. But I don't know if that catalog is going to be up and live from Diamond by Monday, which is a holiday.
Oh, definitely won't.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they're just doing their Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
I don't know. I don't know who's responsible for it. I don't know if it was an oversight. I don't know if it might be up now for all I know. I don't know. So, I mean, I'll check again on Saturday, and I definitely want to prep it for the front page of the website, but
Sure.
we'll see. Kind of out of my hands.
The solicitations that Marvel listed, as you just pointed out, were small.
Yeah,
Small for them.
new books, I think all we're looking at is the Maestro miniseries by Peter David, the
see
Fantastic
that.
Four Antithesis miniseries by
didn't see
Mark
that
Waid
either.
and Neil Adams,
What?
and like Spider-Man #1 Todd McFarlane facsimile edition.
How did I miss those?
Mm.
Weird, because Marvel put up on their Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
the retailer one, the digital version of the catalog, which was annoying because the interface would block the text at the bottom. So I just flipped through and saw the covers.
Oh, okay. What did you see? What was new for you?
Nothing was new. It was like things
Yeah.
like Empire are weekly,
Yeah.
and everything else is. But my point was going to be like, oh, Wolverine #3 resolicited.
Yeah.
Like the next
so,
books,
I
like
don't
things
know.
that have already come out, like Spider-Woman 2 resolicited. So I think that's helpful.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, so that's just it. We'll see. Like, there have been a lot of questions like, hey, now that comics are back again, how was business this week? Well, comics are back by like a third.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of different parts of the country that are having different experiences with being able to sell comics. Like for us, it was curbside pickup and online sales. So it really wasn't a comics are back sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have people coming into the store buying comics because they can't come into the store yet. Places in the country where that could happen probably had a good day, I guess. I'm hearing.
I haven't seen a whole lot, but the little bit that I have seen from people is that they're optimistic with the return, how people are reacting to it.
Yeah, we'll see. I would like to be optimistic, but there's a lot of variables. I don't know that I have a prediction one way or the other.
At this point, since we are 2 months into stay-at-home orders, 2 months since the stores have been closed, it's so weird. It's weird for me to look back on personally because I was sick at the very start of it, and for the last couple weeks I've been injured.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been the normal quarantine procedures that a lot of people have had.
Sure.
I every day I feel terrible about all the work you have to do by yourself. I'm not doing anything. Like I'm still doing bookkeeping,
Sure.
things like that,
Yeah.
but I'm not there with you.
True.
And I know that you miss that tremendously.
So much.
However, that is going to change once I am healed,
Why is that?
because I will be back with you, well, as regular as it was last year sometime.
Uh-huh.
So that means Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
There you go.
In theory. I mean, who knows?
1.5 days a week.
We do not know if our people will come back. We don't know if they'll want to.
Yeah.
We don't know if we want them to for
Yeah.
their safety.
Yeah, it's I definitely talked to a few people today, and it was along the lines of like, just because you can reopen doesn't mean you necessarily should reopen.
Yeah, and I had talked to you initially about if May 29th was the opening, why don't we wait until like June 2nd or whatever?
Right.
Like wait till that
first
first Wednesday, and you're like, yeah, we'll see. Which everything is we'll see,
Yeah.
and it's as I look at this cover of Superman up in the sky, I can't help but think it's Superman up in the air. Everything is up in the air. It's
Yeah.
playing it by ear. But one of the decisions we did make, which was not an easy decision to make, but definitely the right decision, and there have been subtle clues to it. And one person even on Facebook commented on the Facebook icon we currently have, and which is the 2020 version of the Challenger C,
Yeah.
which is the C in a circle, but this one was entirely red.
Uh-huh.
And that person said, "Oh no, blue is dead."
Yeah, unfortunately, Patrick and I had to have a discussion about that, and based on a lot of different circumstances, not just coronavirus, but other things, the River North location Challengers Blue will not be reopening. That one is done, unfortunately. We emailed all of our subscribers at River North first. We wanted them to know before anybody else. This was not a thing where we wanted them to find out through a podcast or through whatever. Like, we wanted to email them directly and say, hey, this is what's going on. Ordinarily, we would want to notify all the people who shop at River North, but basically, we did. It was the subscribers. That was it.
We don't have access to the other people, too.
The other 6 or 7 people probably will find out when they see the for rent sign in the window of 750 North Franklin, number 103.
Which it is already there.
Yes.
It wasn't a decision we entered into lightly, but
No.
like I said, it's the right decision.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't help that there's a global pandemic,
No.
and it doesn't help that we've been closed for a few months. And the idea of starting to, like, that store it hadn't found its feet yet at all.
Right. Which is one of the reasons why we had to do this.
But the number of people that have their jobs letting them work from home, and that is going to continue,
Oh, yeah.
that there's just nobody out and about in River North.
Yeah, River North was a weird neighborhood because we found out pretty quickly that while there's a lot of residences in River North, a lot of high-rises with a lot of units in it, most of those people don't shop in River North. They're not out and about. And the hope was that, as we would hit spring or summer, more people would sort of venture out into the neighborhood. They'd be out walking around more. Obviously, it's difficult to do that in, like, January. You don't want to be out walking around. And basically, as soon as the weather started to get a little nicer, that's when we went into lockdown and the store had to close for 2 months. Right up front, one of the reasons why we didn't want to close River North is because when we had opened it, we'd said that the reason we were doing it wasn't necessarily because we had a ton of extra capital and we're trying to take advantage of making more money. It was mostly because one store was not sufficient for 2 people to live off of. So closing River North is not just like a circling the wagon sort of thing. It is basically saying, hey, that subsistence living that you were sick of for the last few years?
Welcome
That's
back.
it. That's the ceiling.
Yeah.
So for us personally, like, having to close that store is financially a very dispiriting thing to have to do. That is, that store was kind of our lifeline. That was the outlet.
That was our retirement. That's what we called it.
Yeah, that was the ability to sort of find a way to not keep working in a store until we die. And now that it's gone, that's kind of the plan for Bucktown now.
Like, if we can get Bucktown back to the point that it was at.
Yeah, which, I mean, even that's a separate conversation to have after this one. But yeah, River North, like, the stuff that we were looking at, the things that we were seeing, this was not a decision that we made in late March. Our intention when we closed it for the lockdown was to always reopen it, and we had an eye towards doing that. But as the lockdown went longer and the industry shut down, and this stopped looking like something that was just a month and then things would get back to normal and started to be something that was maybe 12 to 18 to 24 months of this sort of thing, the financials stopped making any sense. River North as a location was not doing what it needed to do to pay its bills. And doing a fraction of that, doing 25 to 50% of not nearly enough money to begin with for a year or two was totally unsustainable. Bucktown would have needed to be doing amazing numbers to be able to float that store for that long.
Yeah.
And Bucktown's going to be dealing with a big downturn in its business, either between people not being out and about and shopping as much as they were, or people being out of work, or people moving away, or the industry just being kind of slow to restart. We might not see a return to the amount of product that the industry was putting out in February until maybe February of next year.
Yeah, honestly,
Or longer.
You're not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
Industry analysts predict that it'll take a year to get back on its feet.
Yeah.
Although, wouldn't it be amazing if, with the significantly reduced output, sales go up?
It would be interesting to see. We'll find out if
That's the thing
true
we've
or
always
not.
touted.
Yeah, some of that would help if publishers were actively like pruning their roster to make something that was the best of the best, only the hits sort of publishing. But it doesn't sound like what they're doing. Like, one of the complaints people have already had about the current order form for Marvel is that
It's all Empire.
it's all Empire. Like, none of that stuff really got, like, a few things got delayed or whatever, but boy, it's pretty much all Empire stuff. They're publishing that regardless, and that was stuff that 2 months ago were like, we're ordering single digits, low
Yeah.
single digits
Yep.
for all those books. Like, no one cares. So we'll see if that changes. But yeah, River North unfortunately did not have the customer base to sustain a reduction in business, and we were looking at something where it could take a long time to build a larger clientele that could support, that sort of financial reality. And it just meant that we were not confident we would be able to make a go of it long term. So almost better to kind of end it now, because one of the things that we hate doing is people making that store their home and then having to tell them, like, we have to close it. And that sucked, having to tell subscribers that. People who have been shopping with us for maybe only a few months having to say, yeah. So we're working with them to make sure that their subscriptions can be dealt with in a way that is best suited to their needs right now. Whether that's moving their stuff over to Bucktown or canceling things or shipping out or whatever. Like, we wanted to make sure they were taken care of above all else.
Trying to make it as smooth as possible for
Yeah.
everybody, regardless of how you still want to get your books. But more than just that, it's a situation of looking at things like, I can't work right now.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was
When
the
we
decision
open
making.
up, who's working that store?
Yeah.
There's no one to do it full time.
Yeah.
Number two, even if we could work it, how do you get there? You got to take trains or buses, or trains and buses.
Yeah.
And who wants to take public transportation now?
I really don't.
Right.
I don't think since, basically since the lockdown, I don't think I've taken a bus or a train in Chicago, and I don't feel comfortable doing it. And maybe that's, unnecessary. Maybe that's a worry that I shouldn't have, but it's
a worry you should absolutely have.
It's a thing that I don't feel comfortable doing, and I have no other way to get down to River North. I live in Bucktown. I can walk to Challengers Red. Can't walk to Challengers Blue, not regularly. It just, there were a lot of different things that made the River North situation kind of not something we saw a future in. And I feel terrible about that. And trust me when I say that it was not an easy decision to make, because we sunk a ton of money into getting that store off the ground.
We'll be paying that store off through January.
Oh, I mean, that's...
those are things that we know for a fact.
Well, that one loan, yes. There's
Yeah.
a second loan that's about a quarter the size that we'll be paying off for another 2 years?
Yeah.
More? 30 months, maybe?
Also, we're not completely out of the woods yet, because
No.
we have a 5-year lease.
Yeah, we signed a 5-year lease because we were not predicting a global pandemic.
Because that's what we did with Red, and it worked out.
Yeah, well, I mean, and this is the thing, like, we talk a little bit this episode and a lot in general about how the numbers that we had in mind for what River North needed to do were based on what we started at in Bucktown. As long as it could do that, it was fine. And we were coming in half to 2/3 of that, way lower than we ever anticipated, past like the first week.
From 12 years ago.
Yeah, from 12 years ago. In a neighborhood that has more people in it, I think.
With what we now have as an internationally recognized brand.
Yeah, none of that mattered.
No,
No
it really
one was
doesn't.
finding us. No one cared. The people who did find us, didn't really care.
We have some very dedicated new club members
Yeah.
who have been great.
Yeah.
And they're receptive to what we do. They understand what Challengers is about.
Yeah, and some
they've
of them-
said really, really nice things about the store. So, on the one hand, we feel like, okay, we're doing it. We know what we're doing.
And some of them have, when we said River North is closing, they're like, I want to shop in Bucktown.
yeah.
Like, they liked what we were doing enough that they will shop at a place that is not as convenient to them. And that's incredibly gratifying. And like Patrick was saying, it means we were doing something right. Like, the plan that we had was not a bad one. So if River North... We could have kept going in River North had the pandemic not happened. It would have taken a while, and it probably would have put us in some bad financial situations, but we were dedicated to that spot. We were going to keep going with it. The pandemic changed the equation entirely. It took numbers that were not sustainable
And buried them.
for long term. Like, if we were sort of hoping for, and we were seeing, even in early March, some slight increases. Things were getting a little better. A few more people were finding us. Numbers were going up a little bit. And they didn't even have to go up a ton to make it worthwhile to stay there.
To make a difference.
But yeah, I mean, losing walk-in traffic for a store that could not survive on subscriber numbers it's just we couldn't do it. Like, if people aren't going to come in, then you can't grow that business, and what it has is not enough. It needed to grow to live. Bucktown's in a different situation. We have a much larger subscriber base. We have people that are more willing to do mail order. All that sort of stuff is not going to necessarily keep Bucktown afloat forever, but it's giving that store a little bit of room to breathe. We'll see where that goes. Like, when the doors reopen, what sales are like, who comes back, what casual shopping is like. I mean, we're a store that's designed around casual shopping. If people don't want to do that, that's a different conversation in a few months.
Yeah. At the same time, we're talking with Red's landlords about our lease, which comes up next April. Did you get that email today?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I responded basically saying, hey, thanks very much, but in all honesty, end of August?
Yeah, I think that was what I was hoping for. Because that gives us a few months, hopefully, of at least a month of the store being open to customers to find out, like, now that books are coming back out again, by the time we hit July and August, we're going to be seeing more realistic production cycles for companies. We're going to see steady weeks of traffic. We're going to have an idea of, like, before we sign an extension for a lease committing us to X amount of thousands of dollars a month, how much are we making in a month? Can we afford the rent past a certain point? So we'll see. I mean, the intention is to keep Bucktown going.
Of course.
I love that store. It's
we would,
my livelihood.
We never want to, like, even for all its faults of how much it leaks when it rains, how much water comes in under the door, how many boxes we lose,
sure,
how blisteringly hot it gets in the summer. We still want to keep it.
Yeah, for sure. I like that spot. Put a lot of energy into it.
Yeah, we've really made it our home,
Yeah.
So that's optimistic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just remember all the podcasts and the build up to the huge announcement of Blue. And now it's like, hey, 6 months later, all right, we tried.
Yeah, boy, that's the thing where when you look at it, it's just like, God damn, like, we opened that thing at the end of November, and then mid-March it was its last day, basically.
Yeah.
I worked its first day and its last day.
Did you know that? No, I didn't.
Did you know that? Yeah, it's, so, I mean, anyone who shopped at that store, thank you so much. Thank you for, giving it a shot and trying it out and finding it, and we absolutely appreciate that, and you have so much of our gratitude. For those who never got a chance to see it, I'm sorry. I liked it a lot. I didn't love the lighting, but I loved everything else about it. I think I don't usually look at what we do as being essentially, like, impressive or something that I boast about, but I really liked how that store came together and what we did with it and how quickly we got it up and running. It's sad that we're not able to keep going with it.
There's also a pragmatism. Help me out.
Pragmatism?
There's something to be said for knowing when to cut.
Yeah.
Like, we could try to keep this open for months longer and keep losing money, and then lose bread at the same time.
Yeah. But I mean, above and beyond, like, it's not even... We talked a lot about the financial aspects of it. Pragmatism.
Why was I saying It's pragmatic.
Right.
But it's pragmatic... Say it again?
Pragmatism.
Yeah. Huh. I'm adding an extra A in there.
Yeah, basically, you take out the C and put an SM at the end, and that's the word.
Pragmatism. No, anyway. Never... Let's move on.
Yes.
Important.
Yeah, library. So, what the bigger problem we're going to have up front with River North is, like you said, who's going to work it?
Yeah.
Like, you can't leave your home for another how many weeks?
Yeah.
Like, what if the lockdown's into phase 3 by then and we can reopen River North, but you can't get there? Or you can't get to Bucktown, so I can get to River North, and I can't get to River North. Like, these are things where it could be months before that's viable, and on top of that, like, it doesn't. It's one more thing where it didn't work.
Yeah.
If it was one problem, we could have tried to overcome it, but we were looking at like 6 different, somewhat overlapping problems.
And again, we talked about the closing of the comic book industry, and if it takes this long to start back up, that's a huge blow to River North especially.
Yeah, and I mean, the kind of, I don't want to say the elephant in the room, but there's already discussions about, like, we could be looking at another lockdown in a few months.
Yeah.
as the federal government rushes to reopen things way before it's safe to do so, we could definitely see a fall or winter lockdown. We can't do this again with River North. Like, we can't just reopen it for 2 months and then have to shut it back down again.
That's good, because I have some ideas for some videos for when we're shut down the second time.
Oh, awesome.
No, I need those legs. Need them. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, sorry, everybody.
And on the one hand, it's bad news, and we're real sorry.
Yeah.
But I don't think either of, I think we both acknowledge immediately, no, it's the right decision.
Yeah, we had a discussion about kind of what it meant and what the repercussions would be and how we would go about it. But I don't think there was ever really a point where one of us was like adamant that it stay open. Like, we knew the logistics of keeping it open, and just neither of us had a plan for how that could happen.
Yeah. Financially
or manpower wise, it just couldn't happen.
More like manpowerless, am I right? So Dal, comics came back this week.
They did.
What was your experience like being at the store on Wednesday? The store that you only work at, you?
The Dal store.
Before we go away from Blue, I want to point out that there may be a point where we reach out to everybody we know to come help us dismantle that store.
Yeah, or I guess this is the thing I also want to mention. I'm going to be there this Sunday grabbing a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to be taking measurements of some fixtures and stuff. The bookcases we need to sell. We don't have room in Bucktown for a whole bunch of blue bookshelves.
Yeah.
So the blue metal bookshelves that we have in River North, that are basically the blue version of the red metal bookshelves we have in Bucktown, are going to be up for sale. We're going to be listing those on, I assume, our Facebook page?
And Craigslist.
I'm going to be taking measurements this Sunday. I'll be taking photos of them with books in them, with books out of them. We are going to make them cost effective because they are something that someone needs to come and get rid of. We need people at some point to come to River North and take them away. We will not be storing them or moving them. They do not disassemble. They are giant metal bookshelves. The positive aspect is they're giant metal bookshelves that will last you probably forever.
The ones we've had in Bucktown, we've had for 12 years and counting, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, shelves are fine. They'll hold stuff forever. You can have graphic novels on them forever. Those shelves will never bend. So it's a decent investment, and they're not super expensive. We'll have a number in mind. It'll be up on Facebook and Craigslist when they're ready to go.
You will have to transport them yourself. You will have to carry them out of the building yourself.
Yeah, we will meet you there. But
I will not meet you there.
Patrick will help you carry them. I'll meet you there, and we'll work out a time. It'll probably be a Sunday because it's kind of the only day I have available. But yeah, those need to go more than anything else. There's also going to be counters.
Yep.
What we'll probably be looking at people in the industry who might want them.
There's a little blue plastic kids table and some chairs.
Yeah. I'll be doing measurements of all that stuff this Sunday so Patrick can get them up online so we can get that process moving. All the product will be moving over to Bucktown, so we're not really going to be clearing out anything that way. That's all in the process of happening.
Yeah, if you're interested at all in these bookshelves, and like at most they'll be $100 a piece.
Yeah.
At most.
Yeah.
They cost us more than that.
Yeah, we were selling these at a loss, but we would like them to go away.
Yes, we need them gone. We look at it as like we're paying you to take them away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you're paying us to take them away. We're not paying you.
We're not paying you. No,
we're not liking that at all. We're not liking that at all. So back to Wednesday comic book day.
Mm-hmm.
How did it? Since you picked up the books and checked everything in on Tuesday by yourself.
I did, yeah.
You also had to pull all the club, and so give me the procedure. A club member emails and says, "Hey, shoot me an invoice."
Sure. So already we're getting people who are asking for invoices. Basically, like as soon as we sent out the new release list on Thursday, we were getting people saying, "Hey, I want my books next week." They let us know how they want them. And I have a little sheet of paper that says invoice. And I write down someone's name and I write down how they want the books to get to them, whether it's curbside pickup, Wednesday delivery, shipping. And then Tuesday, once all the books are received, everything's been pulled for club, then I start sending out invoices through Square. I ring up their books, I send them an invoice. Stuff gets paid for over the next few hours or whatever.
Online, electronically?
Yeah, electronically, through an electronic invoice. And that's kind of it. So I already have a list going of like 5 or 6 people that I need to invoice this coming Tuesday.
And so they show up and say, hey, I'm outside my book. I want my books.
Yeah, well, it depends on the person. Some people want their books delivered, so they go in the little delivery bin, and we have a few delivery people that have been kind enough to work with us on Wednesdays to get books all over the city because Patrick is lazy.
Yep.
Doesn't want
just
to.
Tired of
just
driving.
Doesn't want to.
I cannot believe I did almost 4 hours worth of deliveries after the injury.
It's because it's been getting worse every day. So that was probably when you felt the best with it.
Yeah, when I could bend it and move it from brake to gas.
Yeah. So some people will show up through the day for curbside pickup. Some people, it gets put in a priority mail envelope or a box, and it gets dropped off at the post office or picked up by a mail carrier. It's most of the day. Everything is also on our Shopify page. New releases are listed every Wednesday at 11. And we had some people that were buying new books that way and coming to pick them up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Something that's sustainable for the next few weeks at least.
Yeah, we'll see.
Do you personally ever feel overwhelmed with the amount of work you have to do?
Some days. Today, actually, because I had a Diamond reorder show up, a Southern Hobby order of 2 different waves of Marvel Legends action figures show up. I had people who were placing orders online through Shopify. I had subscribers that we were transferring over from River North to Bucktown. I had subscribers that were responding to the weekly email asking to have stuff invoiced or adding things to their list. And the DC stuff wasn't going in correctly, so I had to make separate... So all of that stuff was going on over like a 3-hour period. And that's on top of like stuff I wasn't able to finish the day before, like breaking down boxes because the recycling bin was too full, but then it was emptied before today. So today I could actually put stuff in the recycling bin. So it was a lot of overlapping jobs, like things that I would get halfway through and then have to go do something else and then come back to. So it was a lot of that. So today, yeah. Some days it's the opposite, where it's like I come in and there's 2 things I have to do and then I'm just trying to figure out what to do for the next 4 hours.
I spent some time today creating a new file in our Dropbox called Portraits for all the illustrations we've had done of you and I.
Neat.
And I took the Daniel Warren Johnson one and modified it for the future.
Okay.
We're both wearing the Challengers face masks.
Oh, neat.
So we'll be able to use that one. And I updated the bookmark, the back of the bookmark with the circle red logo, and then changed all the, got rid of all the blue information. I think that we'll, sooner rather than later, redo the Liana Kangas bookmark.
Yeah,
but,
I thought so.
But for red.
Yeah. Most people didn't see it. It'll be brand new to them.
It'll be brand new. Yeah. So, and I would change the logo on that as well. It's sad because it's sad because there's a ton of work you and I put into blue on a lot of different things.
So much.
Even the newest, like, social distancing and please wear a mask flyers, we made blue versions of those.
Yeah.
Which,
so much
unnecessary.
So much time
which
and
goes to
money
show
over
you
so many
how,
months.
until recently, we still thought, no, we're going to make this work.
Yeah.
Like, this, as you said, this wasn't decided back in March. This was decided just days ago.
Yep.
And it's, what was I going to say? I have, just because I'm not working doesn't mean I can't still be fashionable. And I got in, yesterday, new Challengers earrings.
Neat.
I have, these posts that are 6mm posts, and they have the white Challenger C on the outside. I made some for Serpent Crown, as well, but the graphic is way too tiny for that.
Oh, sure.
But a nice circular C counts. So it's still feeling active, as well as finishing the orders, getting the, March, April, June, July orders. What these are technically the July orders that we just turned in? No.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff is.
I don't know.
That was in the last
So
catalog is also in the new catalog.
So rushing to get that order done because it was due. It was due.
Yeah.
It was due
5 a.m.
this morning, and I got it done 2 days ago. But that's the closest I've cut it in a very long time.
Sure. I also turned in the River North order pack. That's how much we were still trying to make this work.
That is exactly how much. Yeah. So there's going to be some holdovers and duplicates and things. And, I do. I look first and foremost, and I'm sorry that I keep going back to my personal pain, but that's how prevalent it is in my mind.
Sure.
I look forward to not being hurt anymore, but I do look forward to working with you regularly again because I've enjoyed what little time we had so far.
Yeah.
in this quarantine. And I think that, honestly, I really think that coming out of this, Challengers Red is going to be stronger than it was.
I hope so. A lot of, like, we're both of us are kind of used to doing a lot more work. I think well, maybe not the last 2 months, but the previous 4 months.
Yeah.
So I think, obviously some of it'll be nice to not have to work 6 days a week. But at the same time, like, I'm used to working 6 days a week. So I think even the days
now.
I'm not in the store, I feel like I'm going to be working on something somewhere.
Yeah, that's going to be a big learning curve for me to come back.
I'm sure.
I honestly, I wonder, you had joked a few days ago, like, yeah, we'll see how long it takes you to feel like putting clothes on again. Not like to getting dressed, like
Right.
like formal work
Yeah,
dress.
to leave the house.
I am
dressed
not
for
sitting
work.
here naked.
No.
Dad would not allow that.
No.
Can't say anything about last week's episode.
Gross.
Not true. But I wonder if it'll be like, I could do a half day for a week or so.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird to me that in the last few years I've had 2 abdominal surgeries, and I was out each time for 6 days, and I was back.
Yeah.
Where I was like, one time I was cut into 8 different points of my abdomen.
Sure.
6 days later, back at the store. Didn't lift anything for a month, but still. But this one, no, like a month and a half minimum. It's so weird.
Yeah.
You can't see this, listener, but I have to constantly keep shifting where I'm at because no matter what position my leg is in, it's putting pressure on a point that doesn't want pressure.
Sure.
Are you sick of me talking about it?
No, I love it.
Oh,
That's my favorite part.
I was talking to David Harper before this, just not for a podcast or anything, just because.
Your friends?
Yeah. And it's weird because I'm so adverse to the phone, but we were emailing back and forth, and I just went, my reply is too long to sit here and type. I don't want to do it. So I texted him, like, are you busy? Can I just, I know you're, because he's 3 hours behind us.
Right.
Like, I know you're at work. Can I just call you? So I just called him.
Nice.
And we talked about comics and things for a while.
Well, that's cool.
And I literally, in the explanation of me talking to David, I forgot why I brought that up. It's going to be about something that he and I talked about, but I can't remember.
Indian food?
Oh, man. That dude bought me Indian food. Did I tell everybody that?
I don't know.
About a month ago, he and I were talking about Indian food, and then he bought me Indian food for dinner.
Aw.
It was so great, from a distance. And when you were talking at the start of this episode about your internet friends, I've never met David Harper.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah, never seen him in person, never met him. But he is a good dude, and over this time I've been talking more to people who are from a distance, like a former professional dodgeball player, Bread Truck, Eric Tillmans.
Bread Truck Tillmans.
We're talking a lot about wrestling, but also comics, specifically top 10. He had some top 10 questions. And I was telling him a little bit about my leg injury, and I was describing it in detail. And then he said, okay, this disgusting conversation is over. So that's fun.
He's
but
not wrong.
It's like most people don't really know about it. I haven't posted about it on Facebook, but I did do a whole podcast, but that's only to people that listen to a podcast.
Like, I mean, most people would know it because, like, oh, I went to the store and Patrick's not there. Or, oh, I invited Patrick to this thing, but he couldn't go because of this. Those two things don't happen.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Such a weird time to be alive.
Yeah.
We're a little bit short as far as a normal episode goes, but longer than last week.
Oh, yeah?
Is there anything that you want to bring up, comic-related?
DC, I don't know if we talked about this on here, but DC announced they're dropping a couple books.
The same way Marvel did?
Yeah, Terrifics and Supergirl will not be wrapping up in print, or at least not in single issue form. Like, they will, I think, be released digitally, or at the very least, there's going to be a graphic novel that will have those stories in it. It's a bummer. I mean, I sort of get it. There was something I thought was sort of interesting, and I talked to Jeff Stang at Image today, and it was something I brought up because I thought it was such a weird... Like,
Jeff Stang, you're David Harper?
Kind of, yeah. No. Jeff Stang is someone I've talked to on the phone 2 times now.
Is he buying you dinner?
Not yet, Jeff.
What if he offered to buy you Indian food?
I would find out what you liked in Indian food, and I would have him just buy that.
Yeah.
Then I'd go, it was so good, Jeff, thank you so much. The same way that anytime we've ever been given alcohol, it's like, oh, thanks, Patrick's going to drink this. Dal will not be drinking any of it. Brian Hibbs had a column on The Beat, and he was talking about how the pandemic and the lockdowns have been affecting his stores. And he mentioned that his store, his main store, is one that is very much about walk-in traffic. rack sales are very important to them. And being closed to the public means no rack sales, means everything sells a lot less and you order less copies of things. And he was kind of not as keen on the market starting back up again before people can come in, because he thought that was counterproductive, that you're releasing product at a time where, it's not going to sell.
Yeah, there's no one to come in to get it.
There's going to be lower orders from people. And then what I found really interesting about that is that it was just after Diamond had released their first post FOC numbers, and they said, way higher than they thought. Now I didn't see Diamond's numbers.
Yeah, you can interpret that. Like they could have thought, we're going to drop by 70%.
Yeah, but let's take them at their word and say that the numbers were stronger than they thought they were going to be. And I thought, that makes more sense, because even Brian Hibbs was like, I'm only going to order my subscription numbers. And it's like, the whole market is just subscription numbers. Like most stores, it's not like 50-50 rack sales and subscription numbers. It's like 90-10 subscription numbers.
Yeah, literally the only store I know that is the opposite of that is Flying Colors out in Concord, California.
Sure.
They're like 80% off the rack.
Which is great. I'd love to be that store.
For sure.
But most stores, especially for Premier Publisher stuff, that's not really how they do things.
When we separate our shipments every week, we have the boxes that are for the rack and the boxes that are for Club. Club is always bigger, usually by at least a full box.
Yes. What I thought was really interesting about that was that when Diamond had that statistic, they viewed it as, that's how healthy the market is right now. And I thought, no, that's a sign that the market is inherently very unhealthy. That there are no casual readers, or that there are not enough casual readers that if they disappeared, it would make a difference. Like, that's horrifying. That so much of what comic retail is for comic retailers is just subscription management. It's just order fulfillment. It's not marketing or promoting books. It's just dropping things into people's subscription books and then ringing them up when they come in. These are bad things.
Yeah, those are not the way that...
That is a market that is broken.
One of the things I was talking to David about was there's somebody who I just pitched the House of X Powers of 10 hardcover to, and they bought it online, and they texted today to say that they love it.
Great.
And that's part of the comic store experience, even though this entire transaction was not done in a comic store.
Yeah.
It is about me knowing enough about this person to say, hey, based off of what you like and previous conversations we've had and previous books you've bought, I really think this is for you, and then them trying it and liking it. But as good as House of X and Powers of 10 are, we both know people that we would not recommend it to because they're not going to like it.
For sure.
And that is a thing about the store, and that is one of the things that we've barely got a chance to do in Blue.
Right.
But that is one of the things that I think is the hallmark of a good store.
Yeah.
And there are some retailers who are worried about some of their customers, like they're buying too much, or they're not managing their money better, and they don't want to lose, like they should buy less comics. Mm-hmm. And my response has always been, no, they should buy better comics.
True.
If you don't like what you're buying, don't let that make you hate the industry. It's our job to make you not to make you like what you buy, right, to help you buy what you like.
Yeah, but if you're reading Superman and not liking it, like, don't just keep buying it indefinitely just because you've always bought Superman. Quit.
But what if John Romita Jr.'s art gets better?
Read some other book. You know, think about what you liked in Superman, and we can help you find a book that is doing that now.
And it's just such a time where we don't get to have that interaction.
No.
But one of the benefits of having the Shopify store, mm-hmm, which is 100% Dal, is the things that people are finding.
For sure. Yeah, it's there's a few things that we do as far as like curated sections or whatever. But even those, I want to get back to doing those, but I just have not had the time to do it, unfortunately. But yeah, it's seeing what weird stuff people search for, and there's been things that in the first few weeks of the Shopify store that we ended up selling where it's like, man, it's been sitting on the shelf for 4 years.
Right? Do you get analytics of searches?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
You can look at them too.
I mean, I was going to say, I said you, but I mean we.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, there's a thing that Shopify does some interesting stuff, and I want to dig into it more because there's a few ideas of how I want to streamline things, but I don't know how to do it yet. So I got to look into how Shopify can maybe do certain things. But there's front page stuff where they'll just be like, hey, here's like the most sold items of the day, or here's here's a search, like, here's what people are searching for. Like, what keywords, what are they typing in?
Neat.
And one of them was things like, oh, we don't carry enough of that. I guess we should maybe get some more of those books.
That's really cool.
If people are looking for them and we don't have them, I guess we probably should have them.
Is there anything that somebody searched for? You're like, ew, no.
I haven't delved that deep into it. One of the most trafficked pages.
Liefeld. I kid.
One of the most trafficked pages was a Silver Surfer Dan Slott Mike Allred omnibus
Oh, yeah.
that we didn't even have.
Yeah.
But the system thought we had one. It was just a discrepancy, and we corrected it. Someone bought it, and we had to refund them and go, no, we don't have that, sorry. But, like, somehow that page got, like, 150-something hits.
Wow.
It's like, did someone on a board just go, like, Challengers has this book that's out of print? Like, omnibuses are a big deal. Like, they do go out of print very quickly. And there are people who collect them who will pay a premium for that omnibus because it may never come back into print. But I don't know how some of that stuff gets out. I don't know how 150-something people, maybe 140 of them were bots.
It was a really good book.
It is, for sure. But it's still like, man, like, no one's asked us for that book in, I don't know, a year maybe. And yet, immediately people were finding it. So it's like, it's cool. I don't know how much of a going concern the Shopify store is going to be in a year. I mean, for a year, probably, yes.
Sure.
But in a year, I don't know. I'd like it to be complementary to what we do in the store, not too much of a distraction.
One of the things that Facebook does, which isn't really helpful, is that if you have, let's say I do a post about, hey, we've got a new online store, it's a Shopify store, and I put a link to the Shopify store in the post. Mm-hmm. Now, if a friend of mine sees that post and wants to share it, and they share it, all it does is share the Shopify link. It doesn't say
any of what you said.
Yeah, it doesn't say, hey, here's here's what we're doing, here's all our stuff online, here's how to get it, blah blah blah. So the last few days alone, Jean Ha, Jill Thompson, and Gail Simone have all shared that link, but it's just that link.
Weird.
It's still pretty great to see like that the Challengers Shopify post on Gail Simone's page.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
it's very nice of them.
And like anybody who shares it, it's the interfaces of the differences between the phone apps and the PC apps are so annoying that oftentimes from the phone I can't get to a point where I can like it.
Sure.
But I want to go back and say, if somebody, especially someone I don't know, posts our store, I want to be like, hey, thanks so much for sharing that.
Sure, yeah.
But it's weirdly difficult to do. And if you're someone that's shared it and I haven't responded in any way, that's because I couldn't get to it. or your privacy settings, like we're not friends and I can't see it. But we greatly appreciate it. And there was a Twitter post, I'm sure you didn't see, somebody had said, huge thanks to Dal for sending me a piddly 2 comics when I'm sure you had way bigger orders to deal with. You are a hero.
Aw.
And I said,
happy to do it.
And I said, yeah, exactly. I said, every order is important to us.
Yeah, man.
I don't care if it's a single book.
Yeah, I like someone today had, somebody a few days ago had sent an email saying, hey, I was looking for a couple graphic novels. I was wondering if you had them, and we didn't. But I said, we can order them for you. They'll be in later this week. They said, yeah, please do. So the order was showing up a little later today, but a little earlier in the day, they'd emailed to say, hey, I was just curious kind of if those are in it. I'm really excited about them. I hope this isn't a problem. And I said, no, it's great that you're excited. I'm actually unpacking that order right now. They're in. Give me a little bit, and I'll send you an invoice. And they were super excited. And it was like, yeah, this is...
Yeah, there were a couple of GIF emails back and forth.
Yeah, this is fun. This is why we're doing this job, is people excited about comics. I love people being excited about comics. It's the reason why we do all this.
So if you want to be part of that, you can go to challengers-comics.myshopify.com. That's SHOPIFY. Or you can just link to it, or link...
Challengerscomics.com. It's right at the top of the page.
Right at the top. Also on challengerscomics.com is links to this very podcast, which you've just listened to. So thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.